Hey guys, it's Mr. Schmidt here, and in this video we're going to start the second part of this unit by talking about the law of supply. So we spent the last few videos talking about demand, which is basically a representation of buyers in a market, what they're willing and able to buy. Supply is the other side of the coin, looking at what firms or sellers are willing and able to sell. And that's what the word supply means. Supply means willing and able to sell. I have to want to sell something and I have to be able to sell it. Okay, that's what supply means. Willing and able to sell. And so a lot of these terms that we've already encountered with demand, basically all we're doing is changing the wording to make it match firms selling something as opposed to buyers buying something. And so this is going to require you to kind of switch your brain a little bit because we're used to thinking as consumers, because that's typically what we are. But we've got to start thinking like the businesses selling this stuff to us. So individual supply is how much one individual seller or firm or business is willing and able to sell. Just one firm, one seller. How much are they willing and able to sell? Market supply is how much all sellers in a market are willing and able to sell. So if we add up how much every one of those individual firms or sellers are willing and able to sell, we put it all together, that's market supply. So you're starting to see kind of how these terms, very similar to what we did with demand. Now this table here, what we call supply schedule, is showing you how much Katie's Ice Cream Parlor and Austin's Ice Cream Parlor are willing and able to sell at each of these per unit prices of $1, $2, and $3. So for example, at a price of $1, Katie's Ice Cream Parlor is willing and able to sell 10 units of ice cream, right? And so this column would be individual supply, IS. This column would be individual supply, IS. And then if we're assuming Katie and Austin are the only two sellers in this market, market supply would be the sum of Katie's individual supply and Austin's at each of those prices. So at $1 price, the market supply is 16. At a price of 2, it's 25. And at 3, it's 32, because I'm basically just adding 10 plus 6 is 16, 15 plus 10 is 25, 20 plus 12 is 32. Okay, so market supply is the sum of individual supply. Quantity supplied is a specific quantity an individual seller or all sellers in a market, so it doesn't matter if it's individual supply or market supply, we can do this with either one, are willing and able to sell at a specific price. So it's very specific. A specific quantity we're willing and able to sell at a specific price. 20 units, $2. 50 units, $5. Whatever it is. Okay? That's quantity supplied. Just like quantity demanded, but looking at firms, not consumers. And so the law of supply illustrates this relationship between price and quantity supplied. If the price of a good increases, I want to sell more. I'm willing and able to sell more at that price because I'm going to make more money. This is where students get tripped up because we are taught as consumers that price is bad. We want the lowest price possible. But if you're a firm, it's the opposite case. You want the highest possible price you can get. So you have to be careful with price here. For firms, you want the higher price. And so the last thing I want to do in this video is go ahead and draw a supply curve. So once again, we have quantity and price on our axes. Remember to know what those letters stand for. And then unlike the demand curve that's downward sloping, the law of supply would tell us that the supply curve is upward sloping because at a higher price, I'm willing and able to sell more than I would be at a lower price. And finally, any point on a supply curve is a quantity supplied, specific quantity, 5 units, that I'm willing and able to sell at a specific price, $3. And if I change my quantity supplied, this would be the result of a change in price. So if the current price of the good changes, just like we would with the demand curve, we move along the curve to another quantity supplied. If the current price of the good changes, whether we're talking about demand or supply, we move along the curve. It's very important to remember. If the price of the good changes, we move along the curve, whether it's supply or demand. So that's all for this video on the law of supply. Until next time, have a great day.